I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Switzerland. Madame la Présidente,
Madam President, Switzerland welcomes the launching of direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, as well as the United States' efforts, which have made it possible to set up this very decisive enterprise to ensure peace in the region. My country calls on all parties to abstain from any action which may undermine the peace process or which would violate international law. We therefore call upon Israel to completely and verifiably freeze all settlement activities. These are a violation of international humanitarian law and Israel's obligations under the roadmap. Madam President, Switzerland is convinced that peace must be built. Respect for human rights is one of the essential stages along that path. In this context of prolonged occupation, particular attention must be given to respect for human rights, including the right to housing, the principles of equality and non-discrimination, particularly with respect to minorities and other vulnerable groups. In this respect, my delegation expresses its concern as to the fate of the Bedouin populations both in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory. Madam President, Switzerland calls on Israel to lift the Gaza blockade, a blockade whose political, economic, humanitarian and social effects are contrary to international law. The common objective of the Palestinian Authority and the international community is to set up conditions likely to lead to a strengthening of institutions and infrastructure in the future Palestinian state. Switzerland calls up for stepping up of efforts to speed up the lifting of the Gaza blockade so that the private sector can play the driving role which should be its in relaunching Gaza's economy. It is therefore essential that economic and commercial exchanges, as well as movements of persons between Gaza and the West Bank, are restored, and that the Gaza private sector be in a position to export to external markets. Furthermore, Switzerland very much deplores the restarting of rocket launchings from Gaza, as well as the violence committed over the last weeks by radical Palestinian movements. Apart from the firing of non-guided rockets being a violation of international law, the de facto authorities in Gaza have to do everything to put an end to these violations and to give most chances possible for peace. Finally, my delegation wishes to express its concern at the fact that throughout the occupied Palestinian territory, the rights and fundamental freedoms of the population are subject to excessive restrictions. It therefore calls upon the competent authorities to remedy the situation. Madam President, thank you for your attention.